Hey, hey, hey. Who's in here today? Yep, we'll just give everyone a few minutes to join and then that way we can work from there. Yep, for everyone that's joining, could everyone just pop up their chat and say hi in the chat? And to do that, just select the two to everyone and then we can get started from there. But we'll probably give everyone 1 or 2 minutes just to hop in, join in, and then we'll get started from there. Too easy. Just a few more minutes. We'll get started at 6:05 on the dot. All righty-o. So yeah, no, it looks like that's probably going to be everyone. So we'll get started right off the bat. So first and foremost, guys, welcome to Coder Academy's info session for our newest data science course. For the most part, crack the data, master the code. We'll get started right off the bat now. First and foremost, acknowledgement to the country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Coder Academy acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to the land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples today. So to kick off tonight's webinar, let's start off with an agenda. We'll start off with introductions to all our speakers, and then we'll cover a bit more about data science, the what, the why, and the who. I'll then hand it over to both Ahmad and Steve to chat a bit more about the specific areas of the actual course itself, and then we'll end it off with a bit more of a quick fire Q&A. And start off and bang. Hey, that's me up there on the right. So in the enrollment team, there's just the two of us with myself and Charlotte. So Charlotte, if you don't mind, if you want to pop in and go through housekeeping, that would be really awesome now. So there she is.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charlotte, as Tom said, and I work for Coder Academy. I'll be helping out with the live chat today. So if you have a burning question, you can put it in the chat. Make sure to put it in the chat box, not in the Q&A box. And also, there's a toggle there with everyone and hosts and panelists. Make sure you choose everyone. All right. And don't be shy. Keep asking those questions, and we'll take them at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. So yeah, again, just a reminder, as Charlotte just mentioned, keep that chat option selected on everyone. Everyone send a message into the chat just saying hi and where you're from. That would be super duper awesome for the most part. So I'll give an example. Hey, Tom here from Sydney. Smiley emoji. Ah, there we go. Anyhow, we'll move on to the next. Next up, let's meet some of our speakers for today. So we have Ahmad on the left and Steve on the right. If you both don't mind, would you guys want to pop in and just say hi real quick?
Evening, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Lovely to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Mahmoud. Really excited to be here today. I'll be talking to you all soon.
See you in a minute.
Easy as hell. So those are our speakers for tonight. So let's get started, guys. Super duper simple. Data science, the industry, the why, and the boot camp. So what is data science and why should we study it? So super simple. Be the expert every industry needs. For the first time in our history, data has never been so more important in our increasingly digital world. Every click, every swipe, every purchase, data is involved, and companies are actually proactively looking for ways to generate meaning to really curate a personalized user experience for their consumers for the most part. From hospitals to your local GYG, data is everywhere, even when you don't realize it. It could range from bank payments to what type of burrito that you order on a Tuesday afternoon. Data is actually really amazing in terms of how present it is within our lives in the areas that you may not even recognize for the most part. And with how fast paced the world has become, these companies aren't just looking for a generic number cruncher. They're looking for storytellers that have a passion for immediate and transformative impact. So, with all of this in mind, data science, it sounds important, right? But what are the actual real life applications when it comes down to using this data? So, from our research and actually into the industry, we've actually estimating that data insights are looking to generate a contribution of upwards of $16 trillion worth to the economy by the end of 2030. And with that in mind, actually, that has actually led to an increased demand for individuals that know how to work with data for the most part, creating upwards of 3,000 jobs that would need to be filled by that same time. And from those 300,000 new data scientists and data professionals, they'll have an average salary in Australia of anywhere between 100 to 130K at a more intermediate level, and with a potential for even more internationally. So we know the what, we know the why, now the who. So what Coder Academy and why choose us? With an industry-focused approach to training, we provide ourselves on learning a bit more about learning as hands-on as possible for the most part. We don't learn data from reading off whiteboards. We learn practical skills through trial and error. With aid from both our educators and our partnership team, you're going to develop a portfolio that works. And you actually have the option to undertake an optional 1-month placement with one of our array of amazing partners for the most part. And finally, the most important part is also the social component, where you actually have the opportunity to connect with a lot of like-minded and supportive individuals that have a similar passion for data and technology, much like yourself. So we know the who, the why, and who Coder Academy is. So what about our bootcamp for the most part? So our bootcamp, super duper simple. It's a 10-month specialized bootcamp designed to teach anybody and everybody the fundamentals of data science. It's delivered completely online, so it's super duper flexible in that sense. And you'll walk out with an accredited higher ed diploma of data science, meaning that it is actually equivalent to almost a first year of university. For those keen beans out there, our next intake does start on the 9th of June, so that's quite soon. So if you're interested in starting soon, definitely reach out. So if we were to break it down, it's split into 2 different blocks, including an industry placement, which is around 4 weeks after you complete the bootcamp. Ahmed will actually dive a little bit deeper into regards to the specifics of each of these courses later. So you actually gain a pretty strong understanding of all the required and essential skills that you need to actually kickstart that first role in data science. So over block 1 will cover aspects of statistical analysts and also data engineering, while over block 2 will cover core aspects of machine learning and a bit more about ethics here and there. And as mentioned before, we do have that optional industry placement, which Stephen will definitely tell you a little bit more near the end of this worksheet. Next up, we also offer a scholarship to showcase diversity. So it's 50% off all course fees, and there is one scholarship offered per intake for our 10-month bootcamp for domestic students. So if you want a bit more information than that, just definitely let us know. I can definitely post a link to learn a bit more about that afterwards. So anyhow, we'll get started into the next section where we'll chat a bit more about Ahmed. So this is our resident data expert, with a passion for data, stories, and an occasional Counter-Strike game. With a student-focused approach and a track record of transforming complex data into actionable insights, he's here to help you guys unlock your true potential in the wonderful world of data for the most part. So if I don't mind, if you can come on now. There we go. There he is, the man in the hour. So I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Tom. Hello again. I'm here to share a bit about what data science actually is, what this course looks like, and how it can help you start a career in tech. Whether you're just curious, switching careers, or just wondering what data science even means, this session is for you. So let's get on to it. So let's get this session going with a question. Because data science is all about asking questions, the right questions, to be more precise. So what's the first step to data science? Well, curiosity. Just the fact that you've decided to join this session means you're eligible to be a data professional. So what even is data science? Let's have a look at it. At its core, it's all about using data to find answers and make smarter decisions. Companies use this to predict trends in their sales or market for growth. They offer personalized services based on data and also solve real problems. Something like using a watch and search history data to recommend your next show on Netflix, or helping a sports team track the performance by looking at their KPIs. Not just the KPIs, but past data and even data from other teams. Hospitals even use data science as well for improving hospital operations. Like they'd have data of how efficient they are with how they work, and they'd find better ways to operate, saving time and resources, and ultimately making a difference. You can see in the chart over here that data science is at the intersection of three things. It brings together a bit of maths, particularly statistics. That's where we learn how to spot patterns, calculate trends, and make sense of numbers. Then you can see in the other circle, we've got a bit of coding there. Specifically, we will cover Python and SQL, which helps us actually work with the data. So you don't just work with the data, you automate certain tasks, you build things, and you have finally the domain knowledge, which is probably one of the most important aspects of data science. But the thing is, what is a domain knowledge? It's basically just a fancy way of saying understanding the context itself, like knowing the difference between what revenue means in retail versus what it means in healthcare. And the cool part is it works like magic. You give meaning to messy numbers, and it feels amazing in the end. Let me give you an example. Say you work for a delivery company, right? You've got a bunch of raw data like customer addresses, delivery times, traffic patterns. The math part helps you calculate things like average delivery time or spot delays. The coding lets you automate that entire process, maybe flag delayed routes in real time. The domain knowledge, that's basically knowing that peak delivery issues happen around school zones or during lunch rush, and building smarter models based on that. So these three topics by itself, they don't do much, but together, that's data science. So moving on, let's say one thing people always ask is, do I need a background in tech or coding to do this? And the answer is no. If you're a career changer or just someone who's a bit curious about how data works, this course is made for you. Maybe you've never touched Python in your life. That's completely fine. We've seen people come from hospitality, admin, even retail, and now they're working with tech fields in ways they never imagined. So yeah, if you're someone who likes solving problems and figuring stuff out, you'll fit right in. So, and also there's a small quote over there saying, if you've ever opened Excel and thought, there must be a better way to do this, this course is for you. All right, let's talk tools. So in this course, you'll be working with the same tools used by data professionals every single day. So you don't just you don't have to understand how they work right away, but it's here just so you can get into the headspace of what you'll be using. We'll be learning HTML and CSS, which are like the building blocks of the web. It's a great warm-up, meaning you learn how websites are structured and styled, which gives you confidence working in any tech environment. So for example, they're the basic tools that will help you develop your portfolio website, which is super important when applying for jobs. Then we get into the heart of it, Python. This is the go-to language for data science. It's beginner-friendly, super versatile, and lets you clean, analyze, and visualize data with ease. Alongside Python, you'll also learn SQL, which is how we talk to databases. Databases is basically where we store data. It lets you ask really specific questions like, show me all the customers from last month who spent over, let's say, $200, and get those answers super quick. We use something called Jupyter Notebooks as well to do all of this work. They're amazing because you can write your code, you can see the results, and even explain your logic all in one place. It's like Coder's version of a lab journal. You'll also learn how to use APIs, which basically means grabbing data from websites or application, because the topic is data science. Everything revolves around data. We need data. And the thing is, data is sometimes provided by the clients, or the company itself. But most of the times, we need to go into the www and get it. This is where API comes in, which allows us to get those data. For example, let's say things like weather data, public transport information, or sports statistics. The only thing is, they're live and they're super messy, just like the real world. So there's a step involved where we clean that data and then work on it. So basically after that, later in the course, we'll introduce cloud tools as well. So you can deploy your work, not just build it, but actually share it online, like a working portfolio. You'll also be using Git and GitHub. That's basically version control. It's how professional teams manage code, they track changes and work together without stepping in each other's toes. It's also a must-have skill for any tech job. And throughout the course, you'll also get familiar with industry relevant packages as well. For example, I'll just name a few packages. You don't have to understand what they are, but it's like things like Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Scikit-learn, and more. These are just the building blocks of modern data science. But here's the real takeaway. We don't just teach you the tools. We show you how to use them to solve problems the way you would do in a real job. That's what makes this course super different. So what does the actual course experience look like? First off, we use a bunch of tools to keep everything organized and interactive. So we've got this application called Discord, which is where most of our day-to-day chat happens. Students ask questions, we respond. We help each other out. And also, we set weekly plan and share it on Discord for reference. Side note, we also throw in memes when things get intense. So just to calm things down. Then there's something called Ed. So Ed is the place where you'll find all the lesson content. It's where we ask the students to go before class. So that whenever whatever we're teaching, relevant content will be shared in your Ed for you to go through and then join the class. It's like a prep warm-up, so you're not going in blind into your class. For recordings, syllabus, and all that official stuff, we use Canvas. So if you ever miss a class or want to revisit the previous classes, you can just catch up when it works for you from Canvas itself. So how does our classes start? In class, we usually start with something fun like Kahoot quiz to recap what we learned last time. We use live polls in different time intervals to see where everyone's at. We ask things like if things are clear, if we need to slow down, if we need to cover anything again in detail, that kind of thing. And then we jump into code-alongs, where we actually build things together. We try to tie it to real-world stuff with relevant projects and ideas, so you're not just copying code, but actually understanding why we're doing what we're doing. All right, so now is the fun part. What are you actually doing this course? So basically, to explain this, there's 3 different phases. One is called descriptive, second is predictive, and the third is prescriptive. That in the descriptive phase, we start by learning to clean and prepare messy data, like we talked about earlier. Because let's face it, in the real world, data is really perfect. It's missing values, it's inconsistent, it's weird, and learning to wrangle that is step number 1. Then we move to asking smart questions with data, like what's driving sales? Are certain customer segments dropping off? So you'll basically use Python and SQL to explore data sets and pull out insights that actually matter. From there, you learn how to visualize those insights as well. So not just with charts, but with proper clarity. You build dashboards, graphs, and stories from data that people can actually understand and act on. So with visualization, you'll be the bridge that connects data with people. And once you're comfortable with that, we get into statistics and algorithms and start talking about machine learning. That's the phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 is the predictive part. Phase 3 is the prescriptive part. So the predictive phase is where we use machine learning algorithms and basically those tools to predict future outcomes. And prescriptive is like doctors giving prescriptions to you to help you heal. We find the best fit solutions to problems looking at the predictions we made. So we'll make simple models like predicting house prices or classifying spam emails as practice. It's approachable and trust me, super satisfying when it works. But the thing is, we don't just stop at data science. We'll guide you through a bit of cloud deployment where you learn how to share your work with others. It's one thing to analyze, predict, and prescribe data. It's completely another thing to put it out into the real world, like you would do in a real job. So you'll learn how to do that as well. And along the way, you'll pick up a ton of useful skills. Things like how to work with databases, how to write clean, readable code, how to test your logic and make sure it actually works, and to understand how all of the moving parts of data project fit together. From question to code to communication, you learn everything. So it's not just a course about data, it's a full walkthrough of what a real data science workflow looks like. Not just that, but what it feels like as well. All right, moving on. So what makes this course different from, say, a YouTube playlist or a uni lecture series? Well, for starters, it's practical. You learn by actually doing. We don't just show you what a data project looks like, but we build them together. Second point is our sessions are live and interactive. So it's not pre-recorded. We have real discussions. We have live coding, polls, and questions. So it's collaborative, not just content. Plus, we have the partnerships team. Stephen is the representative today who stay in touch with the industry and helps shape what we teach. So the skills you're learning are the ones companies are actually asking for. And then there's the community. You're not doing this alone. We've got a super active Discord server where students help each other out. They also share progress and keep each other motivated. Oh, and it's built for the Australian job market, which makes a huge difference when you're looking for roles locally. So the thing is, it's not just about learning data science, it's about becoming someone who can do data science as a whole. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next part. Okay. Honestly, my favorite part of teaching is seeing that shift in students. So, someone comes in thinking, I'm not technical. I've never coded. I'm probably going to fall behind. And then a few weeks later, they're analyzing data, writing Python scripts, and explaining insights to others like total pros. That's the best part for me. Watching that confidence grow, seeing people who didn't think they could ever work in tech suddenly realize, wait, I actually get this. I can do this. That moment just never gets old. All right, that's everything from me now. I know I threw a lot at you, so if you've got any questions, big or small, please write them down. Over to you, Tom.
Easy as. Thank you so much, Amul, for sharing so much regarding the course itself. Was super duper insightful. So with that in mind, he did mention that our next speaker would be Steve, who's part of our chat about our partnerships team. So we'll move on to there. So this is Stephen, our partnerships coordinator and your new best friend. Armed with a portfolio of amazing industry providers, he's responsible for helping you take your first steps into data by providing support in organizing your optional 4-week placement after you complete the actual bootcamp itself. So with a phone book ranging from venture capital firms to startup incubators, he's definitely someone you really want to have on your side when it comes to finding that your first role in data science. So with that in mind, can I bring Stephen up real quick? He's already here. Easy as.
Thanks for the
Awesome. I'll hand it
introduction.
over to you then.
Awesome. You can pop it on to the next slide, actually. That was a pretty solid intro. Like Amut said, so you've got 10 months in your course, and then about 3 months before you complete your course is where we start kicking things off with the partnerships team. And so we start that with you'll have a dedicated placement presentation. And in this session, we'll go into far more detail. In here, it's just about introduction. We'll outline who's eligible, clarify exactly what support you can expect from us, and where our limits lie. Immediately after, you'll receive our About Me survey. Now, it's not really just a quiz. It's really a chance for you to reflect on your personal goals, tell us about your passions and strengths, and let us know what kind of role you're aiming for. This will be something I touch on a little bit later, actually. But then next up, you'll submit your tech-focused resume and LinkedIn profile. Now, you would have built these already with the support from us earlier in your course, because we do frequent meetings, we do frequent sessions, and we have presentations from industry members as well come in to give tips on these sort of things. Then we review them and we'll give you feedback and tips to sharpen your professional presence. Then once we've gone through a couple of rounds of feedback, make sure that everything's tight, especially your LinkedIn as well, because we want to make sure that you're ready to go from first day. We will then share with our industry partners who've signaled that they've got placement opportunities available. Now, coming back to this, that's where the About Me survey is so important, because we'll be able to match your preferences with what your partner's looking for as well. Now, we can't guarantee every student an interview or an offer. That's where we do as much prep and advocacy as possible. Now, typically placements begin around a month or 2 months after you finish your last week. And then during that period, you'll hear from us frequently, checking in on your progress, offering additional support, and keeping you connected to any opportunities. As well, if you aren't interested in a placement, don't worry, we stay in touch. You can still work with us for your resume as well as your LinkedIn, even things around like your Git to really make it more professional. And we do that through the Discord channel that Amud was talking about. And on there, you'll see we share industry events, job leads, and resources to really keep your career momentum going. Over to the next one, Tom. Now, regarding career paths, so you can see there's quite a few options. Graduates typically will step into a data analyst or a data scientist role, again, being at the junior stage. And this is where you can really build a foundation of your career. What I've noticed is that within a few years experience, you'll find yourself moving into more advanced data science roles, mainly around the data engineering. And even now, there's a lot of specialty roles coming up, tackling much more complex challenges, building predictive models, and really shaping the team as well as the company's data strategy. What's truly exciting is the opportunity to specialize, whether that's machine learning, natural language processing, or becoming an expert in a specific industry like finance or healthcare. Graduates typically step into this probably, I'd say, like roles like in the industry. What I'm finding now, especially, I was at CDAO just yesterday. It's the Chief Data Analyst Officers. It's a strange name for an event. But what I noticed is that every team is now integrating every data team is now integrated into every part of the business. And so if you're a career transitioner looking to move in, all your previous experience does not go to waste. To come in and be able to bring the value and to see that thing, it's quite unique. And then as part of the partnerships team, so just like I said, CDAO here in Sydney, we'll share all these events and opportunities with you so you get as many chances as you can to get in front of the industry as soon as you're during your study journey. And that's kind of about it. It's growing extremely fast. Every team I find that I speak to is opening up data paths. And what I've noticed as well, it's still really new. A lot of this is still getting figured out. And what you learn today is going to be changing every 6 months as tech moves up. But what's like what Ahmad said, the basics are what we cover and the foundations, because it seems to be such a fast moving industry. It's really exciting. Can't wait to meet you guys on it. Tom, all yours for the next one.
Oh, thank you so much, Steve. Always a pleasure listening to you for the most part. Appreciate all your insights. So, yeah, so we know about the course, we know what pathways are available, and yeah, we can move on to Q&A next. But before that, I would like to mention that if you are having a blast so far, we actually will be having a bit more interactive info sessioning happening around August time, and that will basically feature a mini lesson run by Ahmad before. And if you are interested, definitely stay tuned, as there will be a lot more info released closer to the date around August time. But yeah, other than that, we'll move on to Q&A. So everyone just pop your cameras back on. Steve, Ahmad, Shah, everyone just pop back on. If any of our viewers have any questions at all, please feel free to send it into the chat while you have us here for the most part. So I'll stop sharing from there. So
Great.
yeah, Charlotte, run it through.
Great. Thanks so much, Tom. Thanks, Ahmad and Stephen. That was really great. The chat's been pretty quiet, but from my personal experience working with CODA students, a lot of the kind of common questions that I might ask Ahmad to start off with is how much experience they need in coding, because I'm sure that some people have never heard of those coding languages and the programs. It's like, is Python, for example, difficult to learn? Can you maybe elaborate a bit on that?
Oh, yeah. That's an infamous question as well. Well, the thing is, how the program is structured is to take in those people who have no experience at all as well. So if you have no experience in coding, don't know what Python is, the only Python you know is a snake, that's okay as well. We'll take you in. And honestly speaking, Python it might feel a bit weird at first when you're learning it, like any new language, but it's actually one of the most beginner-friendly coding languages out there. And we'll guide you step by step as well. And you'll be surprised how quickly it starts to click.
Oh, great. That's good to hear. And if you get stuck during the course, what can you do and what kind of support is there?
Oh, yeah. That's totally normal as well. And it's expected of you, especially when you're coming into a completely new industry. That's why we have Discord for questions. Like, we are open to all sort of questions. So we have a Discord, we have live support as well during sessions, and a huge community of educators and curious people. So any questions you have, we do help each other out there. So you're not learning alone.
Great. And there's students from all around Australia, isn't there? Even overseas, would you say? Like, there's people from everywhere.
Well, typically it's mostly for students all across Australia itself.
Yep, got it. Yeah, nice one. We do have a question actually from Lone. Thank you so much, Lone. You're the first one. They're great. She asks, can you tell me more about the timeline for creating projects and the job placements? So I
The
guess Onward
Stephen
and
question.
Stephen. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
Great.
think on the project side, did you want to touch on that first?
Yeah.
And I'm happy to take on the job placement part after.
Yep, I'll take the first part. So basically, you saw there's two different blocks, right? So with every block, you get a couple of assessments, and all of those assessments are structured in such a way that it helps you towards you building that project itself. Like you can showcase it as a project itself. So the thing is, it's all practical. You work on projects, real world scenarios, you do your research, gather evidence, and work on them like you would work at a company on a daily basis. This also means you'll use tools like project management tools like Trello, use version control tools like Git. When there's team projects, collaborate with team members as well. So it'll all feel like you're working in a real environment. And the final product, you can showcase it to basically in your portfolio itself.
And then to jump onto that, it's excellent to take those projects and put them into your resume to actually show, hey, I've worked on these real world projects. I know what your teams need. And that's where that comes in really handy when you're doing your placement, because that's the best part of your resume. And so then the timeline, like I said before, it starts about 3 months in. About 7 months into your course. And then we start analyzing and we start working with you, even though you still have projects that are waiting to be finished, because your resume is pretty much like a live document, and you're always making changes. We're always making sure that it's ready to go. And so when you finish, you'll have about 2 to 4 weeks of break time, because just so your brain can really absorb everything and get ready. And then that's when you start the placement. And we've had companies in the past do pretty wide range of start dates and end dates. They tend to be quite flexible, because they understand, they know Coder Academy, and so they know that students have really valued flexibility in their studies, and therefore they try and match that when you're doing your placement as well. Hope that answers that for you, Lauren.
And just on that, Stephen, how does an industry placement actually help you get a job after the diploma?
Yeah, so great question, because it ends up being one of the best reference tools out there. We've had quite a few people hired directly out of it as well. A lot of our partners, they look at it as essentially a 4-week sort of interview process. And they trust the way that Coder Academy teaches in terms of the project-based work, as well as the process that they go through when they work with us at the partnerships team, because they know that they're getting someone who's professional, they're getting someone who's willing, like Onward said, they're getting someone who's curious. That word comes up a lot when you're speaking with partners, because they want people who are going to try and solve problems. So yeah, it ends up being a really great reference tool. You can put on your LinkedIn, you can put on your resume, and yeah, it also acts as a bit of an interview.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Along those lines as well, because there has been a massive boom of AI recently. I would love to get maybe Amud and Steve to provide a bit of insights in regards to how much of an impact do you think AI will actually affect data jobs?
Yeah, so I was at, like I was saying, being at CDAO yesterday, I got to speak with the Chief Data Officer for Tableau, which is a huge part of data visualization. You'll use it quite a lot. And also got to speak with Zip Money. I'm sure you've all have heard of Zip Money here in Australia. They're like a fascinating fintech company. And on one hand, you had Tableau, who they're powered by Salesforce, and they were speaking about their agent force. And on the other hand, you had Zip Money, which is going through a really sort of experimental phase. Both very heavy AI usage. However, they needed people. They were really out there looking for new staff, because AI is not replacing the human element of looking for the problem and analyzing which problem is the best one to use. AI is just making decisions faster. That what used to take them maybe, he was like, one of the guys was saying one AI process saved them an hour for a general process, and that hour then was put into experimental things, and from that they've saved so much other time and money in the business. And so it's not anymore a thing of taking jobs directly. It's actually, you need to then sort of like retool yourself, re-specialize yourself so that you can utilize it, because it's a tool. It won't, if you ask ChatGPT or whichever generative program you want to use, like solve this problem, it won't, how many times it hallucinates and gets way off track. The company can't trust that. Even when they've given it guardrails just locally inside their own system, they still can't trust it because it breaks frequently. And that's where the person comes in, because they know the business, they know the team, they know the data. Yeah, that's, I've seen it. It's a tool, but you've got to know how to use it as well.
Yeah, that's an amazing point, Stephen. And I'd like to add something to that as well. The thing is, AI is changing how data jobs work, but it's not replacing them. Because think back a few decades ago, like Google didn't exist, and we had to manually search for information, and it was a tedious job. Search engines like Google, Yahoo, they made it easier to get information. And fast forward to this date, it's the same thing. Instead of using search engines to get multiple results, we're using these Gen AI tools to get faster results. So it's all about efficiency. And AI is a must-have and must-use tool to level up your game, but it's not replacing data jobs. I mean, people who work in data created AI. Data is at the core of everything. So that's why it's so beautiful and yet super powerful.
And it's funny, before Google was the phone book, and you had all these companies that were named like AA Cleaner, AA, something, because that's how the search would be. So when you pulled up the phone book, it was just the first name on the list. It's just it's changing as the seasons go.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. That was a good question, Tom. I've got a question from Yvonne, and sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but she asked how many students in the last data science cohort got a placement. So she wants
considering this is actually going to be our first placement for data science, we don't actually have data for the cohorts. However, taking on from our web development placement, if that was to give you some sort of interaction, we're actually currently placing students now. And we're probably sitting at about an 80-85% placement rate. And from what I know about the data science industry, it seems to be a far more integrated and active community. And so I'm, as a partnerships person, I think it's actually going to be much better. So yeah, I think we're going to be looking quite strong for those placement rates.
Great, thank you. And Lone, just wanted to confirm this will be your first or second time running the data science bootcamp. It's to confirm the first time, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. This is the first time. It's quite exciting.
Yeah. So if
we have quite a few partners who are quite interested. It's been something that's on the cards. It's taken us a while to build, and because of that, we've put a lot of effort into it. And it was a whole new world of industry members that have been waiting for it. So it's exciting times.
And if you wanted to start, what would the application process be like, Tom?
Yeah, super duper simple, guys. So if you do want to start, just pop on our website and hit apply, fill out an application form, and then either myself, Charlotte, or someone on my team will just give you a quick buzz, and then we'll walk you through those next steps where essentially just put an application form in, and then we'll reach out, and then we can definitely walk you through on that process. It's super duper simple. You only need, I'm pretty sure it's 2 prerequisites: 17 years above age and a Year 12 certificate or equivalent. Once you pass those 2, we can definitely handle the rest from there.
Awesome. Great one. Good. So I have a question for Omid. As a beginner, what programs do you recommend to start off with?
Ooh, programs. By programs, you mean programming languages or?
Yeah, programming languages, I'd say. Yeah.
Well, you'd say as a beginner, well, if you talk into the data science industry itself, Python, I'd say, because as I mentioned earlier, it's the most beginner-friendly languages and it's not hard to learn at all. And the thing is, these programming languages these days are evolving. And when you look back in the days like C programming versus Python, it's way interactive and it's you don't have to have strict syntaxes as well. For example, semicolons or colons, you can just forgive them. So Python would be a really good start.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. I'd like to go back to you, Stephen. So what is the eligibility criteria for placements when you get to that
Yeah,
point in
so
the
it
course?
ends up being I believe it's about 70% passing grade, and that you've shown some professionalism with our educators like Amud, and that as well that you are available to actually do the placement, because it is you are part of a team's workforce. They want to know that they can rely on you for the day. That if you say to them, yeah, I can do 2 days a week, that you're ready for 2 days a week. If they want to give you a full-time opportunity, can you take that? And that's something that we help you throughout. And again, during those last few months that we really ramp up our working with you, we find all that information out, and we try and make that as suitable as possible for you.
Got it. A question I often get is like, how does it all work? So you help match students to companies based on their interest, or is it a bit more general?
No, so it's not actually very generalized. We actually try to do specialized because we recognize that companies as well are after something quite unique. That's why they come to us. They work with us because they know that they can get someone who they don't have to go search through like thousands of resumes when they put a job offer out there. They go, hey, we want they know that we know their culture, their team culture, because we know their teams. We've met with them in person. We see them at events. We catch up with them for coffees. We go to their business. So we know what their culture's like. And then from that, when we speak with you, we know what your value system is. Because as well, we want to make sure that when you get in there, you've got the best opportunity, to highlight, like to really shine. Whilst we don't guarantee a job out of it, the best bet is if your value system is similar to the company's one, it's already an easy win. And then we're so sure of what you're going to learn that it won't be down to technical. It often always ends up being a cultural thing. And that's where we really make that due diligence to go, hey, this is who this person is. We think they're going to be the best match for this company, to give them the best opportunity to start their career. So that's where our process is quite personalized, quite hands-on, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, that's really great. Tom, can I ask you actually, how does this
100%.
course compare to other courses out there from different companies or unis or whatever?
Yeah, I definitely would love Amud to kind of jump in on this as
Oh, yes, of
well,
course.
somewhat down the line. But when it comes down to the actual data science course itself, is from working on a lot of other providers and knowing a lot of the other courses out there, we're a lot more hands-on. And again, the way that it's structured is that we take an industry-focused approach. So this job isn't just about course isn't just about teaching you about data science. It's actually about teaching you the skills that you need to land a role in data science, and that kind of ends up being two very different courses. Rather than being something very academic, it's more job centric first, everyone would say. And we've kind of reversed it. Like, how can I get a job, and what are the skills exactly you need to get that job, essentially? So, if Amud, you want to kind of dive a bit deep into that, if that's okay.
Yep, yep. I think I had a slide regarding that as well.
Okay.
So essentially, basically, how it's structured is to take you from start to the end. So if you feel like, because all of our assessments, all the day-to-day classes, everything, all the code-along lessons, whatever we do, it's all industry focused. All the tools that you'll be learning, everything is industry focused. So taking you from start to the finish, everything will be based on that itself. So that will definitely help you level up your game.
Well, thanks so much. I've got a question from Sam. Thanks, Sam. How important is it to be personable and a good communicator once in a job?
Great question. I think highly important. Being a good communicator, it works on both fronts. Communicating when things are challenging, but as well communicating when you want more opportunities, when you feel like you've got more in the tank to really drive change. And so the communication part is critical. And that's something that we really look out for, how you craft your messaging, how you email, how you communicate with the educators, how you communicate even with fellow students when they've got their problems and they've got also their opportunities that they want to highlight. And then being personal is just a general one. I think that's where you can really put your personal touch and make the role you. And as I've sort of seen recently with data science is everyone does have a different perspective. Everyone has their own little bias. Bias is always there. And so I think when you're personal and you can be a good communicator, you can really highlight like why you think your bias is correct, is the correct one, why we should go down this path. So yeah, highly valuable to be a good communicator, I think, in all jobs really, but especially in tech.
Yeah, and also specifically when it comes to data science, because it's like a bridge between your plain numbers and people, you are the bridge who explains to other people, to stakeholders, saying, hey, this is what the data is and this is what it tells it. So communication is like one of the key aspects to being really successful in data science. And not just that, but our course is designed in such a way that you'll have team projects as well. You'll have the opportunity to have presentations as well. So if you feel like you are not an excellent communicator, this is a platform for you to practice. So every week we'll have coding challenges, which will give you the opportunity to, you attempt something and you explain on how you went through that process. What was your thinking process? Every project, if when given the opportunity, you can present them as well. So these are the, let's say, the milestones that will help you on build up on those skills.
Yeah, and if you want to tie into the previous question of what makes this course unique, is because of aspects like that. This isn't just all theory, it's practical skills that you actually need if you want to be able to make that pivot, make that jump into the world of data science. It's not just learning the theory, it's also learning a lot of the other soft skills that a lot of like more higher ed universities kind of forget about, because they're all about theory. It's all about communication, learning how to work in a team, learning how to collaborate as well.
Those soft skills are really important these days.
Mm.
Absolutely. Lone had a question more for Ahmed about the scheduling. So she saw that the course is 10 months and it's 4 evenings and Saturday morning. She was asking about the study load essentially. So what is the workload expected? And also, are there any bumps where the course has a bit of a higher workload? Can you explain that a bit more?
Well, essentially, this course is, well, the timetable and everything is structured to keep in mind, like if you are a career changer, if you have a full-time job as well, you can still take this course. So generally, the courses, we'll have 3 classes, 3 live classes in a week. There'll be 2 in the evenings during the week and 1 in the weekends. So basically, in terms of the workload, if you remember, I talked about this website called Ed, which has these contents that you need to cover before class. The thing is, I do say need to cover, but it's always good to cover something before you come into the class. But regardless, if you cover some aspects of it, it gives you an idea of, okay, what is expected of the class itself. But even if you don't cover it, it will still be covered in class. So it's just a level of preparation that you have before joining the class in terms of the workload of covering the contents.
Absolutely.
But
So
most of the
just to,
important stuff will be covered in class anyways. So
just to clarify, Lone, it'll be Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and always on a
yes.
Saturday. Okay, so you
Yeah.
won't have
So
full
it'll
5 days.
no,
You'll have just
no.
those. Yeah.
So
So
it'll basically be 2 hours in the weekday. So either Monday or Wednesday it'll be 7 to 9 p.m. Obviously Sydney time, disregarding the time difference. And on Saturdays we'll have 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Awesome. We can send you a timetable later, Lone, if you like.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And
Awesome.
throughout the entire week, except for Sundays, we'll be online on Discord all the time. So anytime during the day, if you have any questions, we're here live. We've got a bunch of talented educators that here standby to help you out. So any questions you have, we're here to answer that.
Yeah, awesome. Great, thank you. We've got a question from Ricky. He asks, why do we need to learn HTML and CSS? That's another educated question.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I know that HTML and CSS seems like, okay, it's kind of different from data science. Why do we have this? Well, the main reason why you have this is, well, it sort of aligns with what do you want after the course, which is to get a good job. And to get a good job, you need proper portfolios, your CVs. And HTML and CSS is basically those building blocks that helps you build your proper web portfolio. So we'll basically help you build a website where you can put all your projects in, you can host it live as well, so that it'll just make you a level ahead instead of others, right? So you can just share a link saying, hey, you're on my CV, here's my website. Makes it really cool.
I actually do have another question just from top of my head here, Ahmed and Steve. Like, given, let's say that if you were to do our bootcamp, a diploma in data science, right? What type of roles would be available for you, not just in data, but also adjacent to data? Because I feel like data science is one of those things where it's not specifically just data science. It's also other areas that you can also get into a lot of other areas as well. Could you dive a bit deeper into that by any chance?
Well, I'll get started on this. The thing is, these days, when you look into the job market in data science itself, so we're starting to see a shift in trend. So previously, there used to be roles like data analysts, data scientists, and that's it. Data engineers, that's it. But these days, people have different sort of roles as well. They do have analysts or scientists in the end, but in the front, they'll have systems, or they'll have something engineer, ML engineer, AI engineer, and we have the courses that covers all of those.
Yeah, to touch on it, I think it ends up being something that is quite integrated because pretty much every decision, like any tech company, and even you're seeing it now in retail, you're seeing it in healthcare, you're seeing it heavily in finance, education, pretty much everywhere there's data everywhere. And data is now it's an integral part of a business. It's just as important as the processes that run the business. It often actually is the most important part of the business, because if you're not making these data-informed decisions, you're kind of going through things blindly. And so they won't necessarily, like what I've seen as well is not every role will be like highlighted as an analyst. But you'll be able to tell that, hey, this person because it'll indicate Python. It'll indicate that you've got certain data science experience. It really does go across quite a range of industries and sectors. And I think that's where, saying before, if you've got experience, that again, that helps your data-driven insights, because you can back up those insights. So job experience, excellent. It's one of the best, probably transferable markets I've seen.
Yeah, and with any tech roles, data science, this experience, this knowledge that you gain can be a cherry on top as well, because you will be equipped with skills like Python, SQL. You also have cloud knowledge as well. So it's basically you're getting a lot of knowledge from the important parts of the tech industry itself. So even if there are roles, like Steven said, not advertised specifically for data, there will be other roles in which these skills can be transferable or are really important.
For those of you who don't know what the difference between data science and data analytics is, can you tell us, Ahmed?
Yes. So if you remember, previously I talked about 3 different phases or stages of data science. The first is the exploratory phase, or the descriptive phase. And then you go into the predictions and prescriptions. So the first part, in which you explain, right, in which you describe data, like you've got a bunch of numbers and you're like, okay, what is this number? So if your job is to visualize that, is to explain that using mathematics, to say, hey, you've got this boring number, but this is what it actually is. I can squeeze a lot of information out of it, and this is what it looks like. That's the job of a data analyst. The role of a data scientist goes a step further. They use machine learning, AI, all these algorithms to build models. They feed data into it, and then they predict the future as well. So they help build predictive models. Not just that, and it's not just limited to that, but they build prescriptive models as well, which basically means giving suggestions as to, okay, based on the current trends, this is what it looks like, but if you take this particular step, you are on the right track. So that's how data analysts and data scientists can work together as well. And that's where the difference sort of lies.
Great, thank you. That's great. We've got a question here from Sam. He's also asking about scheduling. So he's a shift worker, he's working, and he can't attend every class. Are the classes recorded and accessible later?
Oh, yeah. So you've got Canvas, the website, where you have all those information about class recordings. Every class is recorded. You have all the assessments. Anything you need any information you need about the course will be there. It's 100% recorded. So feel free to check them out anytime as well. All the past recordings, anything you've missed, it's all there.
Great. And are there makeup classes as well? So say if I miss a class, can I do a makeup session or?
Well, we do have, well, of course, for chat, if you don't understand any topic, we do have chat to help you out. But
Mm.
what we've been doing religiously is after the classes, official classes are over for each block, we have certain time allocated for assessment week. During that
Mhm.
time, we make ourselves available so that you can join during those class hours and ask any questions, any topics that you feel a
Mm.
bit confused about. And not
Mm.
just that, but let's say if you didn't understand a specific topic from, let's say, Monday's class, coming up in Wednesday's class, you do have the opportunity to ask that question, and we'll be more than happy to explain that concept again.
That sounds great. And on assessments, can you describe a couple of examples of assessments that they would have to do?
Well, to be more specific about assessments, well, if you're interested about data, there's a website called Kaggle. If you go over there, you'll see there's heaps and heaps and heaps of data. Like some could be really messy data, some could be really organized data. So you'd basically be looking at these real world related data. You'd get those and you'll be performing all these data operations on it. One example I could give you is of a retail company. So let's say if you pick a retail store, for example, Calvin Klein or Tommy Hilfiger, whatever company you pick, they will have these sales data. So you can get those, scrape those sales data, be it actual data or be it just dummy data. It's still data, and you do know how it looks like. So based on that, you work on it. Your assessments will be all based on that itself, so that you know that when you actually go for a job, you've already worked on something like this.
Well, that's great.
There's
Awesome.
heaps of data, for example, for major commodity organizations like Woolworths or Coles. You can get those data online as well, and you can start working on them. So your assessments will be purely built around or based on those. So in everyday scenarios, whatever type of data you'll be working on, that's what your assessments will be based on.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well, we're closing in on 7, but we still have time for 2 more questions. If it's still a bit quiet, I've got a couple of questions that from other students in the past that we can ask. There's one for, while we're waiting, one for Stephen. How do students from non-technical backgrounds typically perform during placements? Like, how do they usually perform?
Could you say that one again, Charlotte? Sorry, just be quiet.
Sorry, how do students from non-technical backgrounds typically perform during placements? Do they do
Really
well,
well.
or is...
Yeah, really well, because again, it's assumed that you don't actually know anything about tech when you come in. And so when we work with people, I find, like, I'm someone who's transitioned my career several times, and transferable skills just, they stay with you. And I find people who have worked in, really any industry, like, there's so many industries where you're learning things, and so I haven't really seen it as a problem ever before. I think the biggest one is you need to have a willingness to change, and to adapt, and to take advice as well, and also like, to come back to Sam's question about being a communicator. Communicate, like, where do you think you're struggling in? Where do you think you're excelling in? Because let's really drive that. That's all the things that we try and really figure out everything about you, so that we can help you as much as possible. Because for us, the partnership team, like, our goal is to make sure that you guys are winning, because that's what makes us. That's our job. Our job is to make sure that at the end of the day, you guys are in jobs, because hey, you might be the one that we reach out to next and say, hey, we've got some really cool students, some really cool graduates who I think would make great additions to your team. You've done this course, you know what they're going to be like. We'd love to see if you carry that forward for us. And so, you're our best advocates, and that's why we push that part so hard. So yeah, it doesn't really matter where you come from, as long as you've got a willingness to learn and curiosity.
Yeah, just to add on top of that as well, like, you're about to embark on a journey into one of the most merit-based industries in the world, where, again, portfolio is king for the most part, and networking is king. It's all based on your own efforts. The more work you put into it, the more you get out of it. So if you do have a passion, you do have a drive, and you do have the work ethic, and this is a genuine passion where you're, like I said, you're fueled by curiosity. This is probably the best industry to jump into, where it is growing at such an exponential rate, where they're looking for people, so many people, and it's again, if you put in the work, the opportunities and the doors will just open for you.
And just a random little note, because I know it often comes up with Coder Academy. We've got support across Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. They're like our primary markets that we work with. However, we've had people come do placements in Adelaide, in Perth, all the way up. We had one about 6 months ago in Cairns. And so we're priding ourselves as well on having partners pretty much in every pocket. Whether that's really early days startups where it's going to be quite rough, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves, get messy with it, or teams that are really, really structured, and sort of everything in between. So as well, if you're in an area where you might not think you're going to get much opportunity, give us a go. It's surprising how many roles come out out of absolutely nowhere these days, because tech is literally everywhere.
Awesome. And any last words, Ahmed, before we have to finish off? Any kind of parting words?
I'd say all the best, and please don't be afraid. If you are completely new to this as well, that's what we expect you to do. We're here to hold your hands and take you throughout this entire journey, and just make sure that you just get absolutely equipped with all these beautiful tools. And then looking forward to exploring data and then getting all those insights and having fun with data with all of you.
Absolutely. I've just popped our details in the chat, me and Tom. So reach out if you have any questions about enrolling or about the course itself. And I'll hand it back to you, Tom.
Yeah, easy as. Can everyone just quickly say in chat, mate, thank you to both Stephen, Ahmed, and Charlotte for taking time of the days to do this webinar for the most part. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. And if you guys are interested, definitely feel free to reach out. Charlotte and I are both more than happy to answer any questions. They may be a little too shy to ask in the chat here today. But yeah, other than that though, super excited for data science, our next intake, which is literally starting next month. And yeah, if you are keen, reach out. That's all I have to say for today. Easy as.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Take it, everyone. Have a lovely night, guys. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.